Inside his hotel room, Jake sat by the window watching the sunrise over the Vegas Strip. No champagne, no wild parties, just quiet reflection. His coach knocked gently and said, "You did it, champ." Jake smiled. "Not just me. Them too." He pulled out his phone. Notifications were endless. Millions of mentions, trending hashtags, messages from legends. Even retired champions who once doubted him had posted their respect. One tweet stood out. "That wasn't JakePaul the YouTuber last night. That was JakePaul the fighter." Jake stared at it for a while, then simply typed back, "Thank you. Respect to every fighter who ever stepped into the ring." Later that day, Jake held a small press conference. No flashy suits, no entourage. Just him, his coach, and a microphone. Reporters asked, "What's next, Jake? More fights? More call-outs?" He shook his head with a calm smile. "For now, I'm just proud of what happened last night. It started with hate, but it ended with respect. That's a bigger win than any belt." The room fell silent. For once, nobody had a comeback. Meanwhile, Tommy Ricks posted a video of his own. No excuses. No bitterness. Just honesty. Jake earned that win. I underestimated him, and I learned something. Never judge a fighter by his background. Judge him by his courage. That clip alone hit 40 million views in a day. Fans flooded the comments. That's what sportsmanship looks like. No one walked away losers that night. This is why we love combat sports. If you were inspired by this fight, type respect in the comments and tell us what country or city you're watching from. Let's see how far this message travels. By the end of the week, the story had become global news. Schools shared it as a lesson on humility. Sports pages called it the redemption fight. Documentaries started development deals within days. Jake appeared on morning shows. Not as a trash-talking influencer, but as a man who turned ridicule into recognition. When one host asked, "What was the best part of winning?" Jake smiled softly and replied, "Hearing them say, 'Good fight.' That's it. That's all I ever wanted." The 5 MMA champions reunited a month later at a charity event. Jake joined them on stage. Together, they donated part of their fight earnings to youth boxing programs around the world. The crowd cheered as Marcus Doyle said, "We came to humble him, but he humbled us on with grace." Jake just laughed, shaking his head. No winners. No losers, just fighters. That clip alone became the most shared moment of the year. As the video fades to black, Jake's voice echoes over slow background music. Never let anyone tell you who you are. Don't fight for attention. Fight for respect. Because at the end of the day, fame fades, but respect stays forever. If you believe no one should be judged by appearance, background, or fame, type respect in the comments. Subscribe for more inspiring true and fictional fight stories. And always remember, real strength isn't in your fists. It's in your character. The calm before the storm JakePaul walking alone into a bright, modern training gym at sunrise wearing gray workout clothes, headphones on, serious focused expression, sunlight streaming through large windows, realistic lighting, cinematic tone. The challenge begins 5. Muscular MMA fighters confronting JakePaul in a professional MMA gym. Tense standoff energy, sweat on faces, natural lighting, realistic skin tones, clean gym background with boxing ring visible. The first round chaos inside an MMA octagon. JakePaul dodging a powerful punch from one of the fighters. Motion blur, sweat flying, intense action, natural lighting, realistic camera angle from ringside. The turning point, JakePaul landing a clean counterpunch on a much larger opponent. Crowd in background with shocked expressions. Cinematic realism, authentic colors focus on Jake's concentration. The crowd reacts, audience members standing, holding phones, flashing lights, expressions of shock and amazement. Security guards watching closely. Realistic indoor arena lighting. The final showdown, JakePaul standing in the center of the octagon surrounded by the 5 exhausted MMA champions. All looking drained and humbled, sweat and bruises visible. Blue spotlight from above, cinematic focus. The handshake of respect, JakePaul and the last MMA fighter shaking hands in the middle of the cage. Mutual respect in their expressions. Photographers capturing the moment. Warm neutral lighting, cinematic realism. The aftermath, JakePaul sitting quietly in a hotel room at dawn, still wearing training gear. City skyline outside window. Natural sunrise colors. Reflective and emotional mood. The press conference, JakePaul at a small press table with microphones. No suit, simple hoodie, calm, confident expression. Realistic conference room lighting, soft shadows. Tommy Ricks's public apology. Tommy Ricks recording a video on his phone in a dimly lit home gym. Humble expression, honest tone, natural skin tones. Background with punching bag tone. Global reaction montage collage-style image of people from different countries watching the fight on their phones and laptops. Fans in USA, Philippines, UK, Brazil, Pakistan. Realistic natural light and diverse faces. The charity moment. Final scene. JakePaul and the 5 MMA champions standing on a stage together at a charity event, smiling and holding a donation check. Audience clapping, warm natural stage lighting, photorealistic style. Reporters fired questions instantly. "Jake, people said you just got lucky that day. What do you say to that?" Jake smiled faintly. "Luck doesn't last 10 minutes against 5 trained fighters," another asked. "Tommy, why take this fight?" Tommy leaned into the mic, his tone sharp. "Because I don't lose to influencers. I fight real fighters. And this time no one's jumping in. It's just me and him." The room buzzed. Jake chuckled. Perfect. No excuses, no interruptions. Just skill. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Even the moderator stepped back a little. The crowd chanted, "Jake! Jake, Jake." Then a louder one, "Tommy! Tommy!" The 2 men locked eyes. Neither blinked. For a full 10 seconds, silence filled the room. Cameras clicked. Flashbulbs exploded. The internet had its next headline. Stare down of the year, JakePaul versus Tommy Ricks. After the conference, clips flooded TikTok again. Edits with dramatic music. Fan predictions. Podcasters debating round outcomes. One viral tweet summed it up. From YouTuber to warrior. Whether you love him or hate him, you can't ignore JakePaul anymore. Training footage began to leak. Jake running at dawn, sparring with ex-champions. Shadowboxing in empty gyms, sweat dripping. Focus sharp. Tommy's camp answered with their own clips. Heavy bags shattering. Loud grunts and warnings. "This isn't social media," Tommy said into the camera. "This is real fighting." The internet split in two. Half the world was on Jake's side. The other half was waiting to see him get humbled. But everyone was watching. Who do you think is walking out with their hand raised? Type Team Jake if you believe in the underdog. Type Team Tommy if experience always wins. Let's see who dominates the comments. As the fight date neared, the hype reached levels no one expected. Billboards lit up in Times Square. Talk shows debated it daily. Even retired legends chimed in. One veteran fighter said on live TV, "The kid's not just talking, he's working. You can see it. He's changed." Meanwhile, Tommy's training footage showed brutal intensity. He wasn't underestimating Jake this time. Every punch looked personal. Every round screamed revenge. His coach shouted during drills, "End it fast. No showboating. No mercy." Tommy nodded every time. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about pride. Back in Puerto Rico, Jake trained silently in a private gym. He didn't post daily vlogs like before. He stayed off social media, off interviews, off drama. His coach told him, "You don't need to convince anyone. Just let your hands talk." Jake nodded. That's the plan. Every day started at 5 a.m., running miles before sunrise. Drills until his arms went numb. Then sparring, analyzing footage, perfecting every angle. For the first time, Jake wasn't chasing clout. He was chasing mastery. Meanwhile, the other 4 MMA fighters began promoting their own upcoming bouts. But reporters kept asking one question. What happens if Jake wins? Marcus Doyle said quietly. Then we all owe him an apology. That quote alone went viral. Fans started calling Jake the respect collector. Memes, t-shirts, edits. Everything exploded again. Finally, fight week arrived. Weigh-in day. Hundreds of journalists packed the stage. Jake stepped up shirtless, leaner and sharper than ever. Tommy followed, muscles flexed, eyes locked on Jake. When they faced off, security had to step between them. Not because of trash talk, but because of raw intensity. Jake whispered, just loud enough for cameras to catch. "You'll know who I am after this." Tommy smirked. "You'll regret showing up." The crowd screamed. Flashes, shouts. The energy was insane. As the 2 men walked off stage, the host shouted into the mic, "Tomorrow night, history will be made." That night, Jake sat quietly in his hotel room. He looked at the old clip from the gym, 5 men surrounding him. Then he looked at the arena poster for tomorrow. Just one opponent. He smiled and whispered, Time to finish what they started. Outside, fans were already camping near the arena, holding banners, chanting his name. Inside, Tommy shadowboxed in silence, staring into the mirror with fire in his eyes. 2 men. 2 worlds. 1 stage, and in less than 24 hours, only one would walk away standing tall. Las Vegas. Neon lights pulsed across the skyline as thousands poured into the arena, holding signs, wearing merch, shouting names before the first punch had even been thrown. It wasn't just a fight anymore. It was a moment in pop culture history. The cameras panned over the crowd. Celebrities, boxers, rappers, even old MMA legends who once laughed at JakePaul now sat ringside, curious. The buzz was electric. No one blinked as the lights dimmed. The announcer's voice boomed through the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the main event of the evening." Drums thundered. A low bass vibrated through the floor. Smoke filled the entrance tunnel. Then JakePaul appeared, white robe, calm stare, no talking. He walked slowly, headphones on, mouthing words no one could hear. Behind him, his trainer carried the Philippine and American flags, a nod to respect for the fighters who'd come before him. The crowd chanted, "Jackie! Jackie! Jackie!" Seconds later, Tommy Ricks emerged to roaring cheers of his own. Black shorts, hood up, eyes locked straight ahead. No music, just focus. His team followed, stone-faced. You could feel the heat between the two even before they stepped inside the ropes. Round 1, silence. Before the storm, the bell rang. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Then they clashed. Tommy came forward first, sharp, fast, precise. Jake circled, patient, reading every motion. The sound of gloves thudding against guard echoed through the packed arena. The commentators gasped. "Jake's not backing off this time. He's standing his ground." Jake slipped a jab, countered with a clean hook to the body. Crowd roared. Tommy smirked, nodded as if to say, "All right, game on." Round 1 ended with both landing solid shots. Neither dominated, but everyone saw something they didn't expect. Jake's composure. Round 2, momentum. Tommy stormed in again. This time Jake met him halfway. Feints, footwork, angles, everything Jake had trained for. Every miss by Tommy drew louder reactions from the crowd. Marcus Doyle, watching from ringside, whispered, "He's learned faster than anyone I've ever seen." By the end of the round, sweat flew like sparks under the lights. The audience was split down the middle, chanting both names in rhythm like a war song. Round 3, the turning point. Jake's coach leaned in between rounds. "He's fading. Stay calm, stay sharp," bell rings. Tommy charges again, and Jake pivots, landing a crisp combination. The crowd erupts, commentators shout over each other. "JakePaul connects." That's precision, not luck. Tommy shakes it off, grinning, nodding. He swings back hard, but Jake slips every punch, controlled and steady. When the round ends, Tommy's corner looks rattled. Engagement break. If you're watching right now, who's got the momentum? Type Team Jake or Team Tommy in the chat. Let's see who's winning your scorecard. Round 4. Respect earned mid-round. Tommy lowers his gloves slightly, breathing heavy. He steps forward, nodding. "You're tougher than I thought," he says between breaths. Jake nods back. "You too." They tap gloves and go right back at it. 2 fighters, no trash talk, just mutual grit. Every exchange now had purpose. No wild swings, no chaos, just the pure art of combat. By now, even the 4 other MMA champions watching on the sidelines were silent. Whatever grudge they'd carried vanished. They were watching 2 professionals earning respect the hard way. Round 5, chaos breaks loose. Halfway through, a loud chant starts in the upper seats. "Respect. Respect, respect." Jake glances up, smiles, and then returns focus. Tommy, desperate to turn momentum, presses forward. The energy explodes again. Fans are standing. Every swing draws gasps. The final seconds tick down. Both men trade clean, powerful shots till the bell. When it rings, neither man sits immediately. They stare across the ring, breathing hard, acknowledging each other without a word. The audience gives them a standing ovation before the final round even begins. Round 6. The final exchange. Jake's trainer says quietly, "One more round. Don't chase glory. Show discipline." The bell sounds. Both fighters step forward slowly, nodding once. They fight not for ego, but for closure. Clean defense, crisp counters, respect in motion. Then, a perfect sequence. Tommy throws. Jake slips. Counter lands. Tommy stumbles, catches himself, but the crowd loses its mind. Commentators yell, "He caught him clean." What a counter. The bell ends it. No knockouts, no humiliation. Just two men standing tall, exhausted, knowing they gave everything. Referee brings them to center ring. Both fighters' gloves are held tight. The announcer steps forward with the results. Ladies and gentlemen, after 6 intense rounds of boxing, we go to the judges' scorecards. The pause feels eternal. Judge 1, 57-57, draw. Judge 2, 58-56, Paul. Judge 3, 58-56, Paul. Winner, by majority decision, JakePaul. The arena erupts. Fireworks burst from the stage. Tommy nods, removes his gloves, and walks over. He lifts Jake's hand himself. "You earned it," he says quietly. The crowd chants again. But now it's not about rivalry. It's about respect. Marcus, Raphael, and the rest step into the ring. One by one, they shake Jake's hand. No hostility, no excuses. They came to test him, and he passed. Not just as a fighter, but as a man who refused to fold under pressure. Reporters rush the ring. Flashes blind him as Jake takes the mic. "I didn't come here to prove I'm better than anyone," he says. "I came here to prove that no matter who you are, YouTuber, boxer, MMA legend, if you work hard and stay disciplined, you belong." The arena goes silent for a second, then explodes in cheers. If you believe respect is earned, not given, type respect in the comments right now. As Jake leaves the ring, cameras follow. Behind him, the 5 MMA champions stand together, heads nodding, clapping slowly. None of them are defeated. None of them walk away humiliated. They all walk away changed, because that night wasn't about one man winning. It was about 5 warriors realizing respect goes both ways. The morning after the fight, the world woke up to a new reality. Clips from the final bell, Tommy raising Jake's hand, dominated every platform on the internet. Headlines everywhere read, "JakePaul shocks the combat world, wins with respect." No trash talk, no ego, just discipline. Even Jake's harshest critics admitted it. He'd earned his place, not by hype, but by heart. Across Twitter and TikTok, fans replayed the fight highlights, slow-motion counters, and that final handshake. Comment sections flooded with one word, respect. Raphael lunged with a roundhouse kick. Jake ducked and countered with a quick jab to the ribs. The Muay Thai champ stumbled back, more from shock than pain. The crowd screamed. Tommy Ricks jumped in next, trying to grab Jake's legs for a takedown. Jake sidestepped, twisted, and threw a short right hook that clipped him across the jaw. It wasn't a knockout, but it sent a message. Jake wasn't here to run. He was here to fight. The gym went wild, chants, shouts, disbelief. Reporters couldn't believe what they were seeing. Ivan Petrov growled in Russian, "You want war? You'll get it." He lunged with a heavy swing. Jake blocked with both arms, wincing but staying upright. Then came a clean counter. A crisp left hook that landed perfectly on Ivan's temple. Ivan staggered back. Jake took a breath and said calmly, "That's one." The crowd roared. Phones flew in the air. No one had expected this. The man they mocked as a YouTuber was standing toe-to-toe with 5 champions and holding his own. But this was only the beginning. The real storm hadn't even started yet. By the time the first round of chaos ended, Jake's knuckles were red, his lips split, but his grin never faded. He wiped the blood from his mouth, pointed at the remaining 4, and said, "Who's next?" For the first time, there was hesitation in their eyes. The crowd could feel it too. The balance had shifted. JakePaul wasn't just surviving. He was winning. And as the noise grew louder, as cameras flashed and the internet exploded, everyone watching knew something unbelievable was happening right before their eyes. This wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't part of the script. JakePaul had walked into a trap. But somehow it looked like he was the one who had set it. The air inside the gym was thick enough to cut. Sweat, tension, and disbelief mixed together as the crowd formed a wide ring around JakePaul and the remaining champions. Every phone camera was pointed at the center. Every breath came with the same question. How long can he last? Raphael the Reaper Cruz wiped his face with a towel, angry at himself for letting Jake tag him earlier. He tossed the towel aside. "You got lucky once, kid. That ends now." Jake tilted his head, a faint grin appearing. Luck? Or skill? Raphael lunged again, but this time Jake didn't retreat. He pivoted, sidestepped, and the two spun around each other in a blur of motion. Each exchange drew gasps. The sound of feet scraping mats echoed like thunderclaps. For long seconds it looked even, until Jake slipped past one more charge and forced Raphael off balance. The veteran stumbled, caught himself, and then, realizing he'd been outmaneuvered, raised both hands in frustration. The crowd erupted. A few spectators actually cheered Jake's name now. No one expected that twist. Tommy Ricks shook his head. Enough games, he moved in with Ivan the wrestler. 2 against 1. Jake squared up, posture low, watching their eyes instead of their hands. Tommy feinted high. Ivan rushed low, aiming to corner him. Jake spun sideways, avoiding the trap by inches. Gasps again. The cameras zoomed closer, catching his focus. Eyes sharp, breathing steady like he'd trained for this exact moment. The tension was unbearable. Every heartbeat felt like a drumbeat in a movie trailer. Reporters whispered, "He's reading them." Fans whispered back, "He's not supposed to be this good." Then, impact. A scramble, bodies locking up, a quick break. No clear winner, but momentum had shifted. Jake stood tall, shoulders squared, while both opponents backed away, regrouping. Across the gym, Jake's trainer called out, "Stay patient. Make them miss." Jake nodded once. He wasn't here to destroy anyone, he was here to prove a point. Every move, every reaction screamed discipline, not chaos. Even the 5 champions were beginning to realize this wasn't arrogance anymore. It was control. Marcus Doyle, the elder of the group, exhaled slowly. He'd watched enough fights to know when the energy of a room changes. He muttered to Lee Chan, "We underestimated him." Lee replied quietly, "Too late now." Jake heard it, but didn't comment. He simply tapped his gloves together and said, "Round 2?" The audience roared. The next exchange was faster, cleaner, more technical. No wild punches, just sharp, calculated bursts, almost like a dance. Every time Jake stepped forward, someone stepped back. Every time they tried to corner him, he slipped away. When Raphael tried to clinch, Jake spun free. When Ivan rushed, Jake sidestepped. The pattern repeated again and again until frustration boiled over. Tommy threw his mouthguard to the floor. "He's playing with us." But the truth was, Jake wasn't playing. He was testing timing, angles, rhythm. All the lessons from months of training were finally paying off. Phones kept filming. Streams kept climbing. JakePaul vs 5 trended across every platform within minutes. If you were in Jake's position right now, 5 pros around you, would you keep fighting or walk away? Tell me in the comments. I'm reading them all. Back in the ring area, the noise reached fever pitch. A chant started somewhere in the back. "Problem child! Problem child!" Even some of the MMA fighters watching couldn't help it. They respected courage when they saw it. Marcus Doyle finally stepped forward, raising his hand to stop the chaos. Enough. The kid's earned his say. The crowd hushed. Jake's chest rose and fell, sweat dripping. But his gaze was steady. He walked toward Marcus, every camera following. "You wanted to test me," Jake said, voice low but clear. "You wanted to see if I was real. Well, now you know." Marcus stared for a long moment, then nodded once. He turned to the others. "This one's different." The confrontation that began as an ambush had transformed into something else entirely, a test of respect. Jake didn't gloat, didn't taunt, he simply backed away, giving them space. The crowd clapped. Some even shouted for a rematch, this time official, under rules, under lights. Jake just raised his hand, acknowledging the noise. Outside the gym, reporters were already posting headlines. JakePaul holds his own against 5 MMA legends. From YouTuber to fighter, Jake's moment of redemption. Inside, though, silence hung for a beat. No one expected to witness what they just did. The 5 had come to humble JakePaul, but somehow they were the ones feeling humbled. As Jake left the mat, he paused, turned, and said only 2 words, "Good spar." Then he walked out through the crowd, cameras flashing like lightning behind him. The tension was over, for now. But the story was just beginning to explode across the internet. Because what happened next would change everything. The moment JakePaul stepped out of the gym, the world shifted. He didn't realize it yet, but within minutes, every single phone camera that had recorded the showdown was already uploading clips. By the time Jake reached the parking lot, his name was trending across Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. You're JakePaul vs 5. MMA revenge fail. Respect-earned headlines popped up faster than notifications could refresh. JakePaul holds off. 5 MMA pros in chaos-filled gym clash. Underdog or overdog? JakePaul proves he belongs. The footage spread like wildfire. The internet couldn't get enough. Some clips had slow motion. Others replayed the part where Jake slipped 2 punches at once. Memes exploded. Edits appeared. Fans picked sides. Inside an hour, millions were watching. By midnight, it was the biggest combat sports story of the month. Inside his car, Jake scrolled through his phone. Comments flooded his notifications like an avalanche. Half the people were cheering him. He earned my respect today. Did you see the control? That wasn't luck. The other half were furious, claiming the fight was staged. No way 5 pros couldn't drop him. Publicity stunt. Pure YouTube hype. Jake smirked. Let them talk, he murmured. They're still watching. He tossed the phone on the seat beside him, exhausted but oddly calm. His knuckles hurt. His ribs were sore. But deep down he knew something had changed. He'd walked into that gym a disruptor. He was walking out a contender. Meanwhile, the MMA world was on fire. Podcasts, analysts, even rival fighters. Everyone had something to say. Clips were dissected frame by frame. Commentators argued over whether Jake had actually won or just survived. On one stream, a veteran host leaned forward and said, "Look, no one's saying Jake's a champion." But the kid didn't back down. "That's worth respect," another replied. "He didn't just survive. He adapted." That's the scary part. Fans flooded the live chat with laughing emojis, fire emojis, and disbelief. It wasn't just a brawl anymore, it was a moment. In a small studio across town, the 5 MMA champions sat around a long table. None of them spoke for a full minute. Finally, Marcus Doyle broke the silence. "It got out of hand," he said. "We went in to test him, not to become a meme." Rafael Cruz clenched his jaw. "We underestimated him. That's on us." Lee Chan checked his phone. Every clip he saw had millions of views, and all the comments had the same tone. People weren't mocking Jake anymore. They were mocking them. 5 of you and not one could finish the guy? Maybe YouTubers are built different. Tommy Ricks slammed his phone down. "This isn't over." Marcus looked at him, calm but stern. "Then make it official." No more gym surprises, one-on-one, lights, ref rules. Tommy's eyes lit up. A real fight. Marcus nodded. "Exactly. Let the world see who's who." And with that, the seed for the rematch challenge was planted. Jake woke up the next morning to chaos. His phone had thousands of messages. Sponsors, news outlets, fight promoters. Even Dana White had dropped a cryptic tweet. Didn't see that coming, Jake laughed, shaking his head. He hadn't planned any of this, but he wasn't backing away now. He opened his camera, hit record, and posted a short clip to his 25 million followers. "Y'all saw what happened. I didn't call them out. They came at me. But if any one of them wants to run it back, one-on-one official rules, I'm game. Let's do it for charity." The clip went viral again. In less than an hour, it hit 10 million views. Comment sections blew up. Fans were calling for Jake versus Tommy like it was the next blockbuster movie. If you had to pick, who should Jake fight first in the official rematch? Tommy the striker, Lee the technician, or Rafael the brawler? Drop your pick in the comments below. Back at the MMA gym, the fighters gathered again. Tommy was pacing, furious. "He's turning this into content. We're the joke now." Marcus folded his arms. "You wanted attention? You've got it. The question is, what do you do with it?" They all looked at each other. Then Rafael said quietly, "We fight. But this time, we do it right." Promoters smelled money. Within 24 hours, offers started flying. A major streaming platform wanted exclusive rights. Sponsors wanted their logos on the ring. Commentators were already lining up predictions. The narrative had flipped. What started as 5 pros trying to humiliate a YouTuber had become a multi-million-dollar event. Jake's name was now in the same headlines as legitimate fighters. Not because he talked big, but because he'd stood his ground when 5 men came for him. That night, Jake sat alone in his gym. He replayed the footage again, this time not as entertainment, but as study. Every move, every dodge, every hit. He wasn't gloating. He was learning, preparing, sharpening. He whispered to himself. They wanted respect. I'll earn it the hard way. The next day, a poster leaked online. No one knew who made it, but it went instantly viral. Underneath, in bold red letters, "Coming soon." And once again, the internet lost its mind. A week after the viral gym incident, the world of combat sports had changed. You couldn't scroll through social media without seeing JakePaul's face. Clips of his calm stare surrounded by 5 furious MMA champions had been replayed hundreds of millions of times. And now, it was official. JakePaul versus Tommy Ricks. One-on-one, no cameras sneaking in. No surprises. Just a real fight under the lights. The press conference was set in Las Vegas. Flashing lights. Hundreds of reporters. And thousands more watching live streams from every corner of the world. The crowd buzzed with the kind of electricity that only happens before something historic. Jake arrived first. White jacket, sunglasses, cool as ever. No entourage, no swagger, just confidence. Tommy Ricks showed up minutes later, flanked by the other 4 MMA fighters who had jumped Jake in the gym. They weren't laughing this time. This time their faces were stone cold. The moderator raised his mic. Ladies and gentlemen, the fight the internet demanded is finally happening. JakePaul versus Tommy Ricks, Redemption Night. The crowd erupted. The lights of Las Vegas were still bright from the night before. JakePaul, the internet star turned boxing sensation, had just knocked out another opponent in brutal fashion. Cameras flashed. Fans screamed his name. But instead of thanking his supporters, Jake turned to the mic with that trademark smirk. I told you, MMA fighters can't box. They talk tough, but when they step into my ring, they crumble. The crowd erupted, were half cheering, half booing. Across the world, those words lit a fire. 5 MMA champions, men who had fought in cages, held titles, and shed blood for glory, took it personally. Within hours, social media exploded. Clips of Jake's post-fight speech went viral, and the comments were ruthless. Jake's getting too cocky. He wouldn't last a minute in the octagon. Someone needs to humble this guy. And then came the challenge. One of the 5, and a former world lightweight champion, posted a video. He sat in his gym, gloves hanging behind him, looking straight into the camera. JakePaul, you've disrespected real fighters long enough. You want to test yourself? Step into our world. No rules, no ring, just men. Within hours, 4 more champions joined him. Each from a different country, each with a different fighting style. Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, kickboxing, and MMA. Together, they called themselves the 5. Jake saw it, smiled, then tweeted just 3 words that broke the internet. Name the place. That's when everything changed. Talk shows, sports analysts, YouTubers, everyone was buzzing. Would Jake really face all 5? Was this a stunt? Or was the man truly fearless? A week later, Jake's private jet touched down at a gym in Los Angeles. No security, no bodyguards. Just his trainer, a camera crew, and that unshakable confidence. The 5 were already there, waiting. No smiles, no greetings, just cold, hard stares, and as Jake stepped onto the mat, the crowd of fighters, reporters, and fans held their breath. Let's see if the YouTuber still talks big face-to-face, one of them whispered. No one knew it yet, but what happened inside that gym would shock the entire fight world. The gym was quiet. Too quiet. JakePaul walked in wearing black gloves and a sleeveless hoodie that read "Problem Child." Cameras followed every step he took. His expression was calm, confident, almost daring. Across the mat stood the 5 MMA champions, each one built like a tank, eyes burning with pride and fury. There was Rafael the Reaper Cruz, a Muay Thai legend from Brazil. Tommy Ricks, a former UFC lightweight king known for his brutal takedowns. Ivan Petrov, the Russian wrestler with hands like bricks. Lee Chan, a South Korean kickboxing champion. And finally Marcus Ironjaw Doyle, the oldest but most feared of them all. A veteran who'd fought on every continent. They weren't here for sport. They were here to teach JakePaul a lesson. Rafael was the first to speak. You run your mouth about fighters. Now let's see if your mouth can fight too. The crowd laughed, a mix of fans, reporters, and fighters who had gathered to witness what they thought would be JakePaul's humiliation. But Jake didn't even flinch. He dropped his bag, pulled off his hoodie, and stretched his neck side to side. So, which one of you wants to go first? His tone, calm, confident, and cutting, sent a ripple of tension through the gym. The 5 glanced at each other. They hadn't expected that. Tommy Ricks smirked. You'll get all of us, don't worry. Just make sure your camera keeps rolling. Jake's cameraman nodded silently, the red light blinking. Every second was being recorded. One of the fighters circled him, cracking his knuckles. Jake turned slowly, keeping eye contact, measuring each man's stance. This wasn't arrogance. It was calculation. He'd studied each of them, watched their fights, memorized their moves, learned their habits. And now, he was ready. The first 15 minutes were verbal. Taunts, insults, threats. But the tension kept rising like steam in a pressure cooker. Someone from the crowd shouted, "Hit him already!" And that's when Marcus Doyle stepped forward. He was twice Jake's age, but his presence was intimidating. He jabbed a finger at Jake's chest. "You think you're one of us? You're a circus act. A showman. You don't belong in the same room as real fighters." Jake leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "Then make me leave." A murmur ran through the gym. The five closed in. It wasn't a scheduled match. It wasn't sanctioned. It was raw, personal. Cameras zoomed in as the circle tightened. Jake cracked his neck once more. His trainer whispered from the corner, "Remember, defense first. Timing second." The energy in the room shifted. This was no longer a spectacle. It was about to become survival. The first shove came hard.
Jake barely moved.
The second came faster. Then one of the fighters swung. Jake slipped the punch effortlessly. The crowd gasped. He smiled. "That all you got?" The five spread out, circling him like predators. Jake's footwork was sharp, precise. He kept moving, never letting them close in together. Phones were out. Live streams were running. Within minutes, millions were watching from around the world. Where are you watching this from right now? Drop your country or city below. This face-off was seen everywhere.